On the 25th day of the prayer and fasting crusade, the brethren gathered again to be strengthened and equipped for world conquest through the word of God. Speaking to the brethren gathered in prayer across Cameroon and other nations, Brother Theodore called for deep gratitude to God, renewed commitment to fasting and prayer, and a revival of missionary zeal suited to the changing times. Brother Theodore began by inviting everyone to thank the Lord for reigning in His sovereignty and allowing the ministry to continue praying and fasting without interruption. He urged the brethren to appreciate God's mercy in sustaining their spiritual exercises, particularly the gathering of believers across the nation of Cameroon and beyond. Let us thank the Lord for allowing all the brethren in the nation to be able to pray, and for those who are actually praying, he said, reminding the audience that fasting and intercession remain the heartbeat of the ministry. He also led the church to thank God for granting peace to Cameroon and Côte d'Ivoire, for which the ministry had interceded, and emphasized that attending the crusade has helped many individuals overcome temptation and avoid sin. They expressed gratitude for those who had already completed their fasts successfully, urging everyone not to take God's mercy for granted. Addressing reports that some believers have criticized others for not fasting completely, he warned against legalism. Please fast as much as you are able, he said. Let us not be taskmasters. Brother Theodore then led the saints to pray that more people would join the fast and that those already fasting will experience renewed spiritual strength. Transitioning into the theme of missions, he declared that God is the Lord of missions and that the movement must understand the theology of missions in depth. He taught that the scope of the gospel is vast and diverse, encompassing many forms of work through preaching, acts of love, power, and mercy. When we confront the extent of God's mission, he said, we see that it provides many varieties of missionary work and categories of missionaries. Reading from Colossians chapter 1 verse 23, he recalled how the Apostle Paul testified that the gospel had been preached to every creature under heaven during his time, when the global population was less than 100 million. They sought to reach every creature, he said, inviting today's believers to learn from their example. Quoting Revelations chapter 5 verse 13, he emphasized that the gospel's influence extends to all creation, and even nature itself awaits redemption. Referring to Romans chapter 8 verse 19 and Deuteronomy chapter 28, he reminded the audience that when people walk with God, His blessing touches every area of their life, even their livestock and land. Drawing from Genesis chapter 12 verse 3, he explained that God's purpose is for at least one member of every family on earth to be represented in heaven. If you have believed, you are already God's missionary to your family, he said, recalling the verse that promises salvation to entire households through faith. He encouraged the saints to ask God for the salvation of their families, citing Genesis chapter 28 verse 14 and Psalm 22 verse 28 as proof that all the families and ends of the earth are included in God's redemption plan. Forget your body that craves food, he said, and think about all the families, the first unit of human society. Continuing with Ephesians chapter 3 verse 15 and Revelation chapter 7 verse 9, he described God's grand vision of gathering people from every tribe, nation, and language before his throne. This is the final result of God's missionary enterprise, he declared. He contrasted this divine vision with the rise of the Antichrist, noting that modern communication technologies like television, the internet, and satellite are already shaping global awareness. At his coming, communication will be developed beyond what we imagine, he said, warning that the church must not allow Satan to claim lives in the places it has failed to reach. Brother Theodore lamented that the spread of the gospel is becoming increasingly difficult, both due to global restrictions and reduced financial support. Currently, what are the broadest possibilities for spreading the gospel? He asked. Students, he said. He explained that students remain one of the most effective channels for evangelization and called for urgent investment in building them up spiritually. If we want to continue our mission in 2025, we must build the students, he said, predicting a future where artificial intelligence will dominate education and isolate learners. He challenged the youth to seize the present moment. Now that students can still move around, what are you doing? and if you have poor grades, your missionary career is over. He further highlighted the importance of technology in modern missions, saying, "The satellite has become the most universal means of travel." Addressing the communication department of the ministry, he expressed concern that the potential of mass communication has been underutilized. "If this is the means to reach the world in a generation," he said, "then we have entrusted greatness into the hands of people who have killed the mission of Christ that was entrusted to them." He urged nations, particularly those with large populations, to develop their own technological tools for mission, asking, "How can a nation of 100 million people not have its own satellite?" He explained that as human communication evolves, mission strategies must adapt accordingly. "The mission does not change, but the strategies do," he said. He reminded the audience that when the world opened to exploration, there were explorer missionaries, and when it opened to trade, missionaries became adept at understanding their generation's language and culture. Brother Theodore also spoke about the role of immigration in modern missions, noting that passports from countries like Germany and the United States grant access to over 180 nations, which can be used strategically for the advancement of the gospel. "We must be awake to the flow of communication in our time and have missionaries adapted to use them to preach the old, unchanging good news," he said. Turning his focus to urban missions, he declared that God now needs metropolitan missionaries. "Go into all the streets," he quoted, urging the saints to reach European cities street by street. He compared the pattern of urban evangelism to city electrification plans. "Everywhere a lamp has been placed, there should be an assembly," he said. "We are the light of the world. Why not plant churches according to the city's electrification plan?" He challenged the audience to approach missionary work with structure and precision. "How can you begin a work without a plan?" Then he added a personal appeal. "The Lord asked me today who is praying for the church planting in Betua, who has done the work of establishing churches through prayer in every neighborhood where they live." Brother Theodore lamented that many converts are lost because missionary work often lacks a foundation of intercession. "That is why we win thousands everywhere whom we cannot find afterward," he said. He urged missionary couples to collaborate spiritually, saying, "Which missionary has told his wife, 'You are missionary number 2. While I go out, do the spiritual work of praying and fasting, so that when we go out to labor, we will have a solid work that we endure.'" He concluded by emphasizing that every street, every alley, and every missionary action counts. "The work is methodical," he said, referencing Acts chapter 5 verse 42 and Acts chapter 20 verse 20. "From house to house, every house, even a hut is a mission field. This is the scope of missions, the vast matrix of missionary work that makes room for everyone." Finally, he called the community to practical reflection. If, for example, we followed a city's electrification plan for our work, would we not know at what stage of the work we are? His question was followed by a collective time of prayer as the brethren lifted their voices to thank God and commit themselves afresh to the vision of spreading the gospel to every creature under heaven.